All right, party people. Welcome to our view from afar on day 30. So, I am releasing these every other day now as the number of players has decreased. I'm sort of backing off and doing an every other day sort of thing. We do have some big shifts that we hinted at on our last cast. And so, what's happening here, of course, is the New World is completely stable as it has been for a long time, at least in terms of geography. What we've seen over here is that the East has the Southeastern Alliance has shifted and become allies with the Southwestern Alliance over here. Now, this was a big change because up until then, the North and the Center East had a non-aggression pact, an NAP, if you're a libertarian. And so, well, that's non-aggression principle, I guess. But anyway, however, we talked about this in the in-depth video, but I'll just do a quick little snapshot of it, which is to say they agreed a non-aggression treaty between them. They would not attack each other or fight each other until they both, I think one of them had 750 points, and then it was, free for all. What happened is the North did send a sabotage spy against the Center East and stacked their borders with troops. Now, I will say the Center East did reach out to me and said, what happens in general if somebody, sabotages you with an economic spy and destroys, let's say, 3,000 oil or whatever the case might be? And I very specifically said, well, that is an act of aggression. I don't know if it's an act of war. I would say you'd need to reach out to them and talk to them. And to me, their response would be determine what if it was an act of war or not. Well, analyzing the map, I will say that if I was the number one team in the game and the number two team in the game destroyed one of my factories during a time of war and destroyed material that I needed for war, I would use that as a pretext to go to war against them. So here, let me be more specific. So as the number one team, you could go ahead and take out, let's just call this the number three team, this team of five. You could go ahead and take out the number five team. And while the North, by the way, remember the North was already at war with them. So it's sort of a race to take as much of the number three team as you can, the team of five, right? So with the North taking as many territories and then the Center East here taking as many territories as they could, this game would drag on for another 2 weeks maybe. It'd take a while to conquer all five of these, right? With the non-aggression treaty between the two giants, the idea being that they would face each other off in the late game. At the very end, they'd face each other. Presented with that concept of 2 weeks of grinding fighting, or, so again, here we are, we're in the mind of this team down here, or you can team up with this five and destroy the number two, the only team on the map that can actually challenge your supremacy. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, the Northerners gave a pretext. They destroyed war materials in a time of war. That is an act of aggression. And as I said, that's an act of aggression. I don't know if it's an act of war. That's a little gray. Well, if strategic forces were pushing the Center East here to attack somewhere else, they probably would have said, don't worry about it. Just don't do it again, please. But since massive strategic forces were pushing them to go ahead and side with the five and eliminate their number one challenger in the game, and by the way, shorten this game by a lot, that's what they chose to do. So again, if you want to hear a rambling, oh my gosh, I went into the Civil War and Fort Sumter and General Beauregard. If you want to hear that, just go on over to the detailed cast that's coming out in a few days. But for now, I'm just going to say, if you really don't want to go to war with somebody, don't give them any pretext whatsoever. Certainly don't sabotage anything, blow up any buildings or whatnot. So that's kind of what happened here. You can see now what's going on is that Hemland, who really just has an overwhelming economy at this point, has pushed up into former holdings of the North. This entire region is now belongs to Romania. The North is still doing okay against the 5 down here. They're still doing decent, but they're not steamrolling in the way they used to, obviously, because they're having to deal with all this mess over here. So, and it's very unfortunate for Russia. Russia has borders with all 3 of these. So I'm not sure. I think this shift in attack has been relatively recent. So I'm not sure that this sort of Central Eastern team has even had a chance to move a lot of their material up north. If they are now relatively at peace, if they have an understanding with the team of 5 over here, then they really don't need to worry about pushing westward in Northern Africa at all. So the last thing to mention is that the New World is still siding with the North. And so the New World is currently at war with all 5 of these guys over here. So that's kind of where we stand right now. They are standing with their allies in the New World. Yeah. Yep. So it's a very interesting. I think that alliance has shifted. At one point, was the New World at war with them, or did they take part of Britain away from them? I can't remember. I don't think they took it away from Britain. Away from Sweden. I think they just attacked at the same time, and Sweden took all the rest. Yeah. So I don't think they've ever actually had a shooting war with the North, and they now have an alliance. So it really does stand as sort of all of this big portion of the map here against all of the top and west part of the map. So it has now polarized. I think it was polarized a couple days ago during our last cast, but I think we can see it's sort of solidified into a hard polarized map here. And it does look like, especially Romania, is making progress north. So we might have seen the turn of the tide in this game. All right, I don't want to speak too much because I already spoke a lot on the detailed version of the cast. So I'll just back out of this as politely as I can and say great game. Don't forget Horse Force is coming next. In fact, I think as this winds down, I'm going to be able to focus more attention on that. We can get that up and running ASAP. That's going to be a fun game. All right, that's it, guys. Thanks for checking in. I'll see y'all next time. Adios, amigos y amigas.